join me in welcoming Svilen Rangelov, the co-founder and CEO of Dronamics. Svilen is passionate about the socio-economic impact of fast, affordable and green freight. Growing up on the fringes of Europe, he experienced the invisible tax that communities and businesses outside traditional hubs are subjected to, a report by the World Bank highlighting that better logistics have a greater effect on trade than tariff cuts and other similar policies, inspired Svilen to focus fully on developing Dronamics as a business that will change how the world moves goods. His company, being Europe's first licensed cargo drone airline and IATA's first strategic partner for drones worldwide, is rewriting the rules of transportation. Welcome.
Hey everyone, it's really great to be here again. Today's topic is AI in aviation. Is it possible? Is the sky really the limit? Before that, I would make a brief introduction of who I am, who we are. My brother and I started a company called Dronamics 8.5 years ago with the intent to become the world's leading cargo drone airline. We ended up being also the first one to receive a license last year, and just a month ago we had our first flight. So it's quite exciting. We're developing essentially a middle mile solution relying on unmanned cargo airplanes that are the size of a small two-seater airplane, but they can land on very short runways. They are unmanned, and they can be controlled from a network ops center as well as from each drone port where we land. So each of them can carry 350 kilograms and can fly at around 2,500 kilometers max. Now, when we started the company, we promised not to shave until the airplane flies, so we had these very huge beards, but it wasn't just us. We have actually a wonderful team of 170 that's a nice blend of logistics, technology, and aviation. But what unites us all is the simple insight that actually we spend as humans almost 100% of our time in two dimensions. We're not really exploring the third dimension anywhere near what we could be doing. And if you think about it, it's pretty crazy, right? From antiquity to now, we've only had, in a blink of an eye, access to that third dimension. There were three main periods in aviation, but now we've embarked, due to advances in technology, on Aviation 4.0. And that's pretty much defined by three key pillars, in our opinion. First, aviation will become increasingly autonomous. This will make it cheaper. It will become also increasingly decentralized. That will make it faster. You no longer need to go through different hubs and change multiple layovers and so on. And third, of course, it will be increasingly decarbonized. That will make it cleaner, and will increase the scaling of our access to the third dimension. Now, when we think about autonomy in aviation, we actually think about automation. And there's a very good reason to that, and I'll get to that in a second. But we've actually had, over these 120 years, we've had autopilots since 1914. So more than a century, there's been automation in aviation, kind of like AI before it was cool. In 1914, a gentleman called Lawrence Perry invented the first version of the autopilot. He even demonstrated it, and that's pretty crazy, with this kind of airplane on a flight in France, where during the flight he would get on one wing, and then his co-pilot would get on the other wing, and there's nobody in the two cockpits. And they would just fly by the crowd, and everyone was cheering, and it was amazing. Pretty crazy to think that that's happened only 11 years after the Wright brothers made their first flight. Now, it's come a long way since then, and automation has been a big factor of why aviation is the safest mode of travel. But that level of safety is also why autonomy still has a long way to go. When we want to talk about pilots being on the ground and separated from the vehicle, we need to obviously think about, okay, what is that replacement of the eyes of the pilot in the cockpit? If there is no cockpit up there, how does the aircraft react? How does it behave? How does it recognize things? It goes beyond just vision, but vision is the most obvious one. And here comes the key differentiation between automation. Aviation loves deterministic setups. Everything needs to work 100% of the time as it was designed to. There should not be, the algorithms should not be generative, they should not be creative, and they should not, improvise. Everything has to be preset, and that's the only way it gets approval. Whereas AI, as we've heard so many times today, is all about probabilistic. It's about the learning and ultimately maybe making in certain percent of those cases a different kind of decision than the one you trained it to make. Sorry. So we've had more than a century experience in automation, and now we have a long way to go to get through that probabilistic nature. Now, nobody here who has used ChatGPT likes hallucinations, but I guarantee you would like even less if the pilots on your flight have hallucinations. So these are totally cases that are not okay. And that's what's stopping the regulating of a lot of really great algorithms out there that are being developed by really smart teams. But it will just take a long time. In our vision, and that's what we've always believed in first principles, you have to have a crawl, walk, and run approach. So you will start inevitably with a situation where actually there will be many pilots handling one aircraft in the air, but they're obviously not on that airplane. Then you then you prove your track record, and then you'll be able to have one pilot for one aircraft. Even in commercial aviation, single pilot operations are a little bit of a novelty. And there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of debate going on right now. So even that is something new that needs to be proven out. And then the last bit would be, once we prove all that, we'll be able to switch to a model where there will be one pilot or one operator in charge of many flights. And that's the future that makes the most sense, in our opinion. And that's why we believe there will always be humans in the loop. There's a lot of talk about regulation, of OpenAI, of all these generative AI algorithms and so on. And governments around the world seem not yet aligned on how to approach this or whether this is something they want to do at all. But again, going back to aviation's track record, it has been regulated for decades, right? All equipment that goes on an airplane has to be certified, and there's unanimity across the regulators around the world of how to evaluate the proper system and so on, so to ensure the maximum safety. So with this, I wanted to leave you with that thought that actually when it comes to AI outside of aviation, maybe we could look up to aviation and their experience of how they did to create the safe environment so that we can actually benefit from this new exciting world. And to demonstrate, I'll leave you with a very short video of what we did. This was our first flight. It happened a month ago near the Black Sea. And we're still in that crawl phase, right? We have a number of pilots, super experienced commercial pilots with tens of thousands of hours flying commercial jets, actually in control of the vehicle.
All stations. The Black Swan has landed. We are now Black Swan 1. Yeah, baby!
Thank you. Thank you so much.